So it's Friday morning. Let's see what time it's probably about like 6 a.m. And my mission today is to head back to the bicycle shop. And there needs to be some more work done on the Trek, the hybrid. And, it's part mountain bike, part road bike. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of like concepts and original changes. So I want to follow up a little bit more. This probably will be the last one in regard to what I had to say about my book and shared other relevant things about the conflict between people. And so over the years, uh, since I've known Dwight, I think we started our relationship in 2018, as I recall. I was in Australia teaching in Melbourne at my son's house, Andrew. And we did the podcast there. At the time, I was calling it the Tao of Satahip. That's where I live, right? And I was trying to be all cool and philosophical and shit. And so I did that interview with him, and that was my very first attempt at a podcast. I was super nervous. It sucked. Dwight did a great job, but he kind of laughed at me. He felt sorry for me at the same time, but had to get my feet wet to a certain extent. And actually, all of the podcasts that I've done so far, most of them, I've still been nervous. I've interrupted my guests too often, things of that nature. I remember when Matt Thornton interviewed me. What year was that? That was during the pandemic. I'm guessing that was 2021 or 2022. But again, I kept interrupting Matt, you know, just because I had to get my 2 cents in, because otherwise I would forget what I had to say. So I apologized. And then things kind of turned around when I did that dialogue with Dwight when I was in Michigan with my daughter. She was there attending high school. I was there for a total of 6 months. She was there for a total of 5 months, and she was able to complete her studies there, come back to Thailand, and get into university. So back to the topic of the podcast. So after that one with Dwight, I was pretty chill and pretty relaxed and normal, whatever that means, right? I was normal for me. And then I did another podcast with Matt Thornton, to where I interviewed Matt in the dialogue at his gym in Portland. And that was my best interview as being the lead of the dialogue that I've ever done. I didn't interrupt at all. I got my points across. I made mental notes and such. So, progress. So, back to the actual reason for doing this video. Over the years, when I had joined that I Love Jeet Kune Do Facebook group, as well as another one that I forget the name of, that I got off of because it was just too much shit on it. There's too many antagonists that I didn't want to deal with. And so I pretty much stuck to the I Love Jeet Kune Do group. And then recently I joined Richard Torres. I love Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do, I think it's called, or I Love Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do, something like that. It's too early in the morning for me to remember everything. So, those are. Oh, and JKD Talk I recently joined. I think I was on there for a long time. I think originally it was Tim Tackett's group, as I recall, and then Mr. Marcellus Brown took it over, right? Michael Marcellus Brown. I like that dude a lot too. So I think I'm only on those three groups, putting the word out, my word, all right? Not the word, but my word. And so what I shared on Dwight's I Love Jeet Kune Do group was the fact that there's a lot of things that Ted Wong said privately to his private students. And he may have said them at seminars, I have no idea, right? But what he told me was really enlightening. First of all, he didn't want to accept me as a student because I was a concepts guy. Number two, he didn't. When he did finally accept me as a private student, it was because Ted Lukai had passed away, and because he felt that you only had one seat. He didn't want to interfere with anything that I was learning from Sifu Lukai. So I respect that highly. He also talked a little bit about Dan Inosanto. He said, Ted Wong said he believed that in Dan's heart, that Dan believed that what he was doing was exactly what Bruce Lee wanted him to do in regards to Jeet Kune Do. And Ted Wong believed that. He told me he believes that. He also said that, in his opinion, he didn't think really that this was his opinion, that he didn't really think that Sifu Inosanto was ever a JKD man, so to speak, but that he was a martial artist, and that to this day he's still a martial artist first, which means that he is into exploring everything that's out there, leaving no stone unturned, right? And those are not my words, those are your words, my concepts, brothers. Leaving no stones unturned. And again, it just shows that difference of personalities of how two students that were really close to Bruce Lee interpreted things differently. Ted Wong was a chemical engineer that worked for a aluminium, as my Brit friends call it, processing plant. Okay, that was his job. So he had that engineer's mentality. He really wasn't into philosophy at all. He really didn't want to hear about yin yang or any of that shit that I brought up. All right, but I totally believe in the philosophy, as you know. And on the other hand, in my opinion, Sifu Inosanto totally believes in the philosophy, like I do. All right. So, as I talked about before, you know, I float somewhere in the middle, right? I don't believe that there's any difference between science, philosophy, and art. I feel that they all fit together, and not everyone agrees with me on that. See, what else did Ted Wong say that might be enlightening to my concepts brothers and my brothers of Ted Wong Jeet Kune Do, latter stage Jeet Kune Do, is that Bruce Lee, and Ted was quoted as saying this, I mean, in writing as well, in interviews, that it was always a process for Bruce Lee, constantly in evolution, right? But that in its, some people call it final stage. I don't think that's the right way to put it. So that's why I call it latter stage. In the latter stage of Bruce Lee's development, while he was still alive, and as I said, the material in his backyard in Bel Air tended to be a bit different than what was taught in LA Chinatown. All right? A bit different. Not totally. And so at the same time that Ted Wong could say that it was different material and that Bruce Lee was heading into a condensation or chipping away of a lot of the research that he did in choosing a specific path, all right? That became what I referred to as yesterday morning, not yesterday morning, but the other day as optimal function, right? Objective truth, right? Whereas the conceptual approach of continuing to research things and possibly pulling things in from them, what Ted Lukai called adding your own, right? Because again, as I said in the dialogue with Dwight that we did when I was in Michigan, we were talking about the two Teds. The theme of it, right, was the two Teds. He wanted to know a little bit about the difference and likenesses of the two Teds, Ted Lukai and Ted Wong. And so Ted Wong, when I asked Ted Wong what the concept of Jeet Kune Do was, he said simple, direct, and non-classical. Whereas Ted Lukai, when he spent the weekend at my house one night in North Hills, California, in the valley, I asked him the same thing. I wrote all this stuff down. I said, well, what's the Jeet Kune Do concept? He said, simple, direct, and adding your own. Okay, so I'll close it with that. because I have a flat tire actually, and I have to walk my bike probably about 5 miles on the side of the highway. So wish me good luck.